Hi, Summer. Thank you for joining me. Can you introduce yourself to Inform's members, please?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Sommer Gentry, and I'm a math professor at the Naval Academy.
Great. And how long have you been an Inform's member?
I think probably 20 years. I became a member when I was in graduate school. So
Great. As a student member, you started?
yes.
Cool. Can you tell us a bit about how you got into this field?
So I was majoring in math, actually in mathematical and computational sciences. And it was my freshman year when I took linear programming and really fell in love with the teacher, who was Carl Schmetters, and he ended up at the University of Chicago because he just made all of the mathematical modeling so compelling. And I loved the concept of actually making the world a better place with the math I was doing. So I really set my intention right there to pursue operations research.
So that was an undergrad that you were exposed to it, or was that
my freshman year as an
freshman year of undergrad? And so then you just kept going?
Because I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah.
Although funny, I was kind of a teenage Rand fangirl because I loved the concept of using analysis and facts to decide public policy. So I think it was meant to be.
Great. So as you know, last year, 2020, we had a pandemic still ongoing. It was also a U.S. election year. And I know you've had research focused in both healthcare and redistricting. So how has the last year affected any research of yours? Did you have to pivot your projects last year due to the pandemic? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I didn't change the direction of any of my own research projects because of the pandemic or the election, but I'll tell you, my students have become really interested in doing their semester projects on COVID and a couple on elections. You know, we talked a lot in the queuing theory class I taught this term about voting lines. And so I'm really excited to help my students pursue whatever they come to me with an interest in. And the COVID research project has been really neat. We've ended up going back looking for discrete SIR models. And so I have some students programming those for their semester project.
Cool. And what research are you working on right now? Can you talk about anything? Do you have anything going on?
Yes, we are still working with the United Network for Organ Sharing and trying to help them design new allocation systems. The original goal was to eliminate geographic disparities and geographic barriers that were preventing organs from getting to the people who needed them the most. But it turns out that the geographic hierarchy was also used in the organ allocation system to prefer things like blood type and give preferences to pediatric candidates, and all of the other aspects of the system were kind of predicated on the geographic hierarchy. So now there's a need to design a completely new weighting scale, a points system, to incorporate all of these qualities into a single score. And so getting rid of geographic boundaries meant refiguring out how to handle all of the different preferences within the transplant system. So right now we're trying to help the United Network for Organ Sharing in a principled way, you know, where they are trading off these different qualities at the appropriate scale that the transplant community thinks is right.
Great. So would you say this work that you do saves lives, saves money, or solves problems? Which one, or two, or all of them, and why would you say that?
I mean, first and foremost, the work I do is focused on saving lives. And it is really rewarding both to be able to explain math to a transplant audience and to be able to explain to my students that they can make the kind of a difference that would actually rescue someone.
Yeah.
Research. I give a talk that I call Faster, Safer, Healthier with Operations Research. And I actually decided early on that I never wanted to work on a problem where the objective function was dollars. And so I have not. I have only worked on sort of scientific problems, trying to understand what's true, trying to understand what policies help people. And so I give a talk kind of that's a tour of those types of problems within OR.
So in your work, there's there's residual money saved with the problems that you work on and solve.
Yes, because I have worked on kidney exchange. So this is about helping more people become living donors by finding a way to exchange kidneys to get compatible donations. And every single kidney transplant saves the US government, about $500,000 because kidney transplant is so much less expensive than dialysis.
Oh, okay.
So that is a money-saving intervention.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you. So you are a member of several informal societies and groups, including the Women in OR and MS, the Health Application Society, the Maryland chapter, and I believe the Diversity Community. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you find this involvement so important?
Well, you really have to find your place in an organization as big as Informs. And I very much enjoyed the Informs healthcare meetings, which are every other summer, and there's one coming up soon. The people that I meet, I met Brian Denton and have just really appreciated intersecting with him again every few years, and sort of we each get to find out what we've been up to. So yeah, I think that it's a way to have a persistent community in an organization as long as Informs, is to get involved with the specific things that you're most interested in.
Yeah, that's a good tip for anyone just joining. Apart from the individual Informs groups and the networking, what's your favorite member benefit?
I love having access to the journals.
Great. Which one do you read the most?
Well, I use Interfaces the most. That is the Journal for Applied Analytics. Because I teach operations research to undergraduates. We have an undergraduate only campus, and we have an operations research major, which is a great opportunity for our students. So yeah, I like to use papers from there to inspire and to give my students guidance on the models that they're using.
Great. You also volunteered as a facilitator for the virtual 2020 Informs annual meeting. So thank you for volunteering. Can you talk a little bit about this experience and then a little bit on the topic that you facilitated?
Sure. I really loved the virtual annual meeting. I know that it was a big change for everyone, but I enjoyed getting to meet people in small groups. So which we did after each talk, and also in the networking lounge. Mm-hmm. We had, scheduled times, and people would come to talk about a particular topic. I think that was my favorite part of the annual meeting.
Great.
It always is the interactions with people. Yeah. I'm very much a people person. And so I met a few connections that I've been able to go and give talks or involve them in reading papers that I'm reviewing for a different journal, things like that. So that I met this year in the networking lounge.
And your topic was anti-racist teaching practices. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So I wanted to sit and think and discuss anti-racist teaching practices. I think it was something that was on many of our minds this year. Mm-hmm. A practice I've incorporated is show and tell. So for instance, I'm teaching the stochastic modeling course, and I ask the students, everyone has one day that they bring in their own model that is either a Markov chain or a conditional probability application, but something from their life or from their concerns or something they saw in the news that they find interesting. And the point is to hear the student's voice and let the student's interests become part of the content of the course, so that I get to learn who they are, they get to feel seen, and really great things came from that. In fact, I had one student bring in something that was like a scheduling application, and they had tried over and over to model it as Markov chain, and they said, but the numbers don't work out. And we realized that that's because that particular problem had a strongly non-Markovian aspect, where you had to have memory about what had happened before. And I don't think I would have handed them a model that was broken in that way. So it was a great opportunity. And also, just to learn, what are my students interested in? Someone brought in a conditional probability application that helped me understand that my students, who are midshipmen in the Naval Academy, so they're going to become assigned to a job as an officer, meant some of them were getting assigned to a job they really didn't want. And so I hadn't realized that this thing was happening. And so they brought that to me. Another student brought in a Markov model of how he spends his evenings and when he task switches from video games to studying. And it was really great. He kind of had taught himself through Markov modeling, how to spend more time on task.
So now you've been to in-person Informs meetings and now you've attended virtual. So give us some pros and cons about virtual and in-person conferences.
In virtual conferences, it's a little easier to switch to a different talk or a different session within the 1 hour period. You can watch just what you're interested in and you don't have to physically change location. I really liked the networking in the setting of the virtual meeting because I felt that people would sit down and talk with you and it was less distracting an environment than if you're trying to have a conversation with someone at a table in the physical space at the conference. So most people would kind of assume that you get less networking opportunities in a virtual meeting, but I found it was more because I could actually spend time talking to somebody and getting to know them and they weren't things passing by.
Okay, so tell us a fun fact about you.
Well, I am really in love with partner dancing. So I also dancing by myself. I spend time dancing every single day. Oh. And before COVID hit, I would be in a room with 100 of my friends dancing and touching and hugging every single night. So I can't wait to get back to that. But I really like to do country two-step. I like Lindy Hop, which is the old form of swing dancing.
Cool.
I perform, I compete, I train a lot. And I've been, in the pandemic, I've been dancing on this vintage women's dance troupe that we meet on Zoom and have really enjoyed that as a substitute.
So no ballroom dancing?
Well, yes, ballroom dancing, cha-cha, waltz.
Oh, cool.
I love all forms of dancing. I'm trying to learn every partner dance because I never want to sit out. I want to dance every single song, so I have to know all the dances.
Oh, cool. So maybe that answers my next question. What do you like to do on the weekend? Sounds like you're probably out dancing every night, but anything else? Any other hobbies?
Yeah, all of my pursuits are very physical. I'm kind of hyperactive. So I do acrobatics. I do partner acrobatics. I do handstands on my friends' hands. I do dancing and exercise stuff. So basically just anything where I'm in constant motion. Roller skate. I picked up roller too.
Nice. That's a good workout. Tell us about your superhuman powers.
Oh, so I was asked to go on a TV show called Superhuman and do a combinatorial puzzle in my head. So that was a really interesting experience. I wanted to go on the show to show everyone a little recreational mathematics puzzle and to represent women in mathematics. They did a piece talking about my actual research and about operations research, how it helps save lives. And so everything about it was great. I had never done mental math before. So I looked up Art Benjamin's book on secrets of mental math, and I used some of those techniques to be able to solve the problem in my head without a calculator. What was interesting was they seemed on the TV show to be trying to give the impression that I somehow magically intuited the answer to the puzzle. But of course, I was multiplying and subtracting and adding in my head.
Right.
So
that's so awesome. Is that episode available still anywhere? Is it like on YouTube or anything you could find?
Oh yeah, and you can go to my website and I've got the video linked there. It's a cute watch, and actually I still use it. I use it when I do math fun presentations for high schoolers because it's a pretty accessible little puzzle, and you can guide students to discover the answer for themselves in an hour or so. So that's kind of a fun thing to do, is to show them,
Yeah.
oh, there was this TV show where it seems so amazing that we did this, but you can show yourself how to solve this puzzle.
Yeah, that's awesome. So besides your puzzle solving powers, if you could have any superpower, which one would it be and why?
I guess not to sleep. I
Not to sleep?
I I have so much fun to have, and so much limited time.
That's true. That's a good one. I didn't know that was a superpower. Um, but great. Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today. Really enjoyed learning more about you.
You're welcome.